I'm very lucky in my career in that I get to travel to some of the most extraordinary places that in the world that have coral reefs. And we have study sites in Australia, in American Samoa, in Japan, as well as really very detailed sites in Hawaii. And, you know, the sad news is that almost every site that I visit is changed. And that change can manifest with a reduction in the number of fish, or in the three-dimensional complexity of the structure, or the reef just looking a bit fuzzy. And a healthy reef is a beautiful, pristine, clean, crisp place with many colors and a lot of movement. And so, you know, it's just your overall sense of the place diminishing before your eyes. And of course, I've seen reefs that have been annihilated, and often annihilated by development and the burial of a reef because a hotel was built adjacent. So we have these big global problems that are, you know, the warming, acidification, and sea level rise, but we also have this tension of human use and the very thing that people come to see being destroyed by the infrastructure that is required to support the tourist industry.
Yeah. You said something earlier about coral reefs being a sentinel marine ecosystem, and I wondered if you could unpack that a bit for us. So seagrass ecosystems, for instance, the effects that you're seeing in coral reefs, are those sort of one-to-one over on the seagrass, or are those more resilient?
Yeah, it's a great question. And actually, you know, we often call the coral reefs the canary in the coal mine because they are influenced by multiple climate change drivers. So we have ocean acidification, the changing of the chemistry as the CO2 dissolves into the ocean, that is impacting the ability of the corals themselves to lay down the skeletons that create the structure that we know as reefs. And then the warming, that is diminishing the ability of the organism to survive and reproduce. And sea level rise, because the other two attributes are diminishing the capacity for the reef to grow, the reef is no longer keeping up with sea level rise. And that is a huge problem when you think that 97% of the storm energy that is rolling towards a landmass is often broken by the reef itself. It is the natural seawall. That is a stunning figure. Imagine the loss of that seawall. But when you look at a seagrass or a mangrove, they are not as sensitive to, say, ocean acidification. They'll be sensitive to warming, but not ocean acidification. And in fact, they are extremely good at keeping up with sea level rise. And so I always think of, corals are the triple whammy. You know, mangroves and seagrasses, maybe two of the three, or maybe only one of the three. But it's only a matter of time before the thing that they are most sensitive to exceeds threshold, and they are diminished in the way that coral reefs are currently diminishing.
You're someone who's been in touch with policymakers about this issue. Do you ever take these people out and show them? I mean, I think that there's no matter how, I sort of have a view that there aren't many people who actually are anti-science, even though that is something that gets thrown around a lot. But everyone kind of has a romantic feeling about coral reefs. And I mean, when you take people out to see these distressed reefs, what's their reaction?
Well, I mean, I think the thing is that even a diminished reef looks great.
Yeah.
So this is a difficult thing, right? It's only when you saw the reef before there was a disturbance and after the disturbance that you really understand the impact of the disturbance. And the reality is that today, so many reefs are in a poor state that, you know, it's difficult to exemplify what has already been lost. But you know, we do take our policymakers, and Hawaii specifically, out on the reef. We have underwater laboratories there where we're doing large-scale experimentation and expose them to the very thing and then point out, have you noticed there's not a single fish on this reef? Why do you think that is? Did you notice that this coral over here was, you know, dark brown, and this one over here is just dead and decaying? So it's really by sort of highlighting the pieces that we need to watch and seeing their increasing prevalence on the reef that I think the policymakers get it. And also, you know, we all learn so much by touching and feeling and seeing and smelling. I mean, that's experiential learning. That's what it's all about. So, but there's general alarm in the policy realm because we're talking about the loss of reefs as a sort of, the loss of reefs, but we're talking really about the loss of food security, coastal security, tourist economy, drugs that have yet to be discovered or are currently from the reef, and of course the entire balancing of the gas on the planet.